Hi there, my dear crafty friends. Grace here to share with you my second layout with my March bunny hop kit. I am starting off with some pattern papers. The striped one is from My Mind's Eye, and the yellow one is from, I believe it's also My Mind's Eye. Um, and then I decided that I was going to use a white cardstock as a base. I'm going to mat my pattern papers and all of my other items with this white cardstock, and this cardstock is a textured one from Doodlebug. Um, this layout is based off of a sketch, and I will try to link it. Let me see if I wrote it down. I did. This layout is based off of a sketch from Stick It Down Challenge blog, and I just kind of laughed at myself that I did write it down because it seems like every time I do a voiceover, I'm a little bit disorganized. So I'm kind of surprised that I got that down. My page will be with one single 4x6 layout that's going to be in the center, and then I'm going to use those L Studio Polaroid frames on each side of my picture. My photo is of my son, my oldest son, and my daughter. This was taken in 2013. I actually took my kids on a little photo shoot. My daughter was going to have a baptism that year, which was like, I think it was taken like a month before her baptism. And so I took a picture of her with her white dress, and then my son had a birthday, and I usually do a photo shoot with my kids around their birthdays, and so I did his too. And because we were already out and the weather was nice and they all looked good, and so I told them lie down together, and I took this picture. My title will be "Home is Where the Heart Is," and that is a cutout from my Silhouette Cameo. I cut that out on white cardstock, and then I'm going to be layering that over some green 6x6 paper. The 6x6 paper is from KI Memories, and it's actually a pattern paper, and then on the back side is just solid color, and so I'm just using the solid. And as you can see, I also layered some more 6x6 paper behind my pictures, which I matted with some white cardstock. I used a blue and a pink to kind of signal the boy and the girl. And here I am using one of the Polaroid frames from L Studio. I layered it with some die cut tabs from the Dear Lizzie pack that I'm using with my homemade kit, and that's where my journaling's going to be. And then my title will be on the bottom, and then I'm not sure if it's going to be recorded with my video, but I do highlight the word home with some pen stitching. And then I cut out some of the circle shapes from the pattern paper from GCD Studios. That was the embroidery hoop ones, and I cut 3 out, and then I'm going to be layering them inside this wood grain Polaroid from L Studio. And I'm using my Tombow adhesive to adhere the L Studio Polaroid frame onto the green paper, just because the strips of, the edges of it are very thin, that if I just use my ATG gun, it might just kind of, go all over the place. So here I'm just trimming it around, and then I decided that the biggest hoop will be adhered over all that frame, and then with some pop-up adhesive. And then I'm just trying to figure out what else I can do for layering here. Oh, I decided that I was going to punch a scallop edge just to put on top of the yellow paper, and I'm trimming that off. And because my paper, my white cardstock, is smaller or shorter than a 12 by 12, I punched it out twice, and then I'm just going to be adhering them with um, the connection, or the ends of those two strips will be covered by the pattern paper in the picture, so you wouldn't tell that it's not a whole 12 by 12 piece. Oh, and I want to just let you guys know that I appreciate all of the comments that's being left on my process videos. Lately, I haven't had the time to comment on them as they come, but I do read them, so I appreciate that. And especially, um, what is her name? I think it was Barbara that talked about that I can email Fiskars about the paper trimmer, and so thank you so much for that tip. I haven't done it, but I am planning on doing it because I really miss that paper trimmer that I have been using, and so now um, I'm resorting to using the old Fiskars paper trimmer, and it's not the same. So I will definitely do that. And so thank you so much for that tip. And I appreciate all of the tips in the comments that's being left in my um, on each of my process videos. And here I am. I pulled out my oldie but a goodie Heidi Swap distressed tool. I know you guys know that it's kind of like a Pac-Man and has a blade on the inside, and then you just run your papers through it and then it distresses it. Um, and then I'm just distressing my 6x6 papers and also this green one that I'm going to be using to hold my title. And I think I've decided to adhere my picture with some foam adhesive. I'm not sure. I don't have the layout right in front of me, and so I can't remember what exactly I did like at the very end because it's been a while since I've made this. But here I am. I took my Zig pen. I think it's a 0.5 tip, and then I'm just running my pen through the inside of those 6x6 pads and also the yellow paper. I like the messy effect that this line gives, but also it gives a little bit more detail um, onto the papers. So they're not kind of floating around. And I have to mention, so I watch a lot of YouTube videos, and one of the things that I've noticed, people have clean tables when they do process videos. And I just kind of laugh because as you can see, my table is a mess. And that is how I work. I kind of throw things onto the side or to the front of me, and I work with this little 12 by 12 paper, or not paper, but mat, and that is how I work. Oh, I want to make notice that make a note that this, as you can see, I used just fun foam behind my picture to use as a dimensional adhesive. I learned that from Jennifer McGuire, and I thought that it was a good piece of tip for big elements like a picture, so that I'm not using up all of my foam adhesive, but at the same time it's the whole space of that picture is filled with adhesive. So the dimension, or the tags, the die cut tags from this L Studio pack was a little bit glossy, and so I thought I'd use my American Crafts Slick Writer, but it wasn't writing very well, and so I took it, I stopped, and then I decided I was just going to use my Sharpie. So my good old Sharpie worked, and I'm going to actually set this aside to let it dry for a little bit because I have a feeling that I had a feeling it was going to smear just because of the surface of that die cut was glossy. So I'm going to set that aside for a little bit and then let that dry and then I come back to my layout. And I think here I'm deciding how I'm going to alter that heart, because I really wanted it to be altered. I didn't want it to stay white. And so I just set it aside because I'm trying to figure out if I should stamp it, emboss it, or do something with it. And eventually I'm going to grab some of the yellow washi that I had put with my kit, and then I'm going to cover that up with some yellow just to bring more yellow on the bottom of the layout, because I have yellow on the top with my pattern paper and also yellow from my sun shirt. So I just adhered the washi on there, and I had to use two strips just because the width of the washi didn't cover the whole heart, and I'm adhering that with some glue dots dimensional adhesive. Here I'm figuring out if I should layer it with a sequence star, but then the sequence star was red, and I didn't want to add any color that was not I didn't want to introduce any other color that wasn't already in the layout. And then I stamped a little circle accent on using the pink paisley Pen Pals stamping set. And then I punched that out with pink paper, and then I adhered that over one of the embroidery hoops. And then here I am using one of the tags from L Studio and the stamp hello. I think I'm going to put hello love on there, and then I'm going to stamp that with some black ink. Trying to find my trusty foam where I do a lot of my stamping so that I can get a clear impression. And then I'm just using this ink pad that I got at Hobby Lobby. I forgot what brand it is, but it was one of those cheap ones, and it works. So I'm just going to use that till it dries out, and then I'm definitely going to buy me some good ink pads as far as black ink pads, like maybe a Versamark or a Versafine. So I'm adhering the journaling tag now that it's all dried, and then I wanted to kind of dress up the bottom of the Polaroid just because I dressed up the other side, so I wanted to do the same. And I'm going to, right now I'm adhering ends of it with a little bit of glue dot just because it wouldn't, the adhesive that I had put originally wasn't doing the trick. So here I am dressing up the bottom of the Polaroid. I took the ampersand circle accent from L Studio, and then I'm going to be putting just her initials, which is M. I'm doing it in light blue and pink, so it blends well with the white and pink, the blue and pink paper that I had put on the back of the picture. And then I also inked up that ampersand circle just to give it a little bit more dimension, and then I added it with some dimensional stickers. And here I am pulling out my homemade enamel dots using some perler beads. And the container that I use for this is actually a pill case. I bought that at a little kind of dollar store when I was in California, and I just punched out little flowers over it to dress it up, and then I put the color of the enamel dots right in the center of the flower, so I know what color enamel dot is in that little case. Here I am sprinkling some of the enamel dots around my page just to give it a little bit more interest and accent. And then I decided that that didn't look good because it was just kind of blending onto the yellow paper on the top, and so I just leave it like that. And what else am I going to add? Oh, I'm going to be adding some die cut flowers because I felt like the bottom left side and top right was kind of missing something. I know that we should embrace white space, but sometimes my eye just doesn't seem like, it doesn't look good. So here I am pulling out some of those die cut flowers from the Dear Lizzie pack that I had got from Tuesday morning, and then I am putting together some flowers here. And I like to do The same thing, like if I do it on the top, I like to do it on the bottom. And so if I'm doing 3 clusters of flowers on the top, I'm gonna have to do 3 clusters on the bottom as well. And I'm just committing to that. I'm gonna adhere the 2 flowers, I believe, with some just flat adhesive and then one with dimensional adhesive. And I think you're hearing my baby in the background. He's awake from his nap and he's pretty close to me, so I'm gonna have to get this done really quick, and so to pick him up before he cries. But here I am. Oh, and I added a date stamp, date roller stamp for the date, and these are the close-ups of the layout. Thank you for watching, and I will see you again next time. Bye.